Hi, and welcome to the Learning Academy's Topics in Teaching and Learning series. Today's topic is authentic assessments. This tutorial will cover what makes an assessment authentic, how to design one, and why you might want to use them in your courses. Are you ready? Imagine if you want to know your teenager can drive a car well enough to let him out on the road. What would give you the very best evidence that he has the knowledge and the ability to do that? A written exam with multiple choice questions, or a performance-based test where he actually drives a car? If I were you, I'd go with the latter option, even if it might be scarier. Why? Because this is more authentic. Here's what authentic means in the classroom. It's a form of assessment in which students are asked to perform real-world tasks that demonstrate meaningful application of essential knowledge and skills. You might ask a student to perform tasks that professionals, either practitioners or academics, in your field perform. Or you could ask them to do tasks that they might perform in their personal lives or in their communities. For example, students could be asked to perform lab experiments, or interview for a hypothetical job. Or maybe instead of writing a paper to you, you might want them to write a blog. Writing for a public audience and for public consumption is more of a real-world experience. Maybe you want them to think about how they would talk to a friend about a difficult problem, or what they would say if they were to lobby Congress. These are all great examples of real-world experiences students can have within a course. According to Grant Wiggins, an authentic assessment is a contextualized, complex intellectual challenge. Some of his criteria for an authentic assessment are that a student generates some sort of product, that there is a realistic audience for that product, whether it's real or conceptual, that the tasks are complex and ambiguous. That leaves opportunity for students to exercise judgment as they work through them, and that there's some form of collaboration, whether that's with you, other students, or some outside source. Why this last one? Because this is how people operate in real work or live situations. It's important to note that you don't have to go all or nothing on authenticity. There's a continuum. The classic example of an assessment that's considered inauthentic is a multiple choice exam that tests only for remembering facts or concepts. An assessment that might be considered somewhat authentic would be a simulation, where students are asked to operate within a conceptual scenario. If you want to go fully authentic and that makes sense for your course, something like a service learning project would be considered the utmost in experiential learning. So how do you go about designing an assessment that's authentic to some degree? Step 1, identify your learning goals. What do you want your students to be able to do? What are the skills, knowledge, or habits of mind you will ask them to demonstrate? Step 2, come up with the context. What do practitioners or academics in your field do? What problems do they solve? What situations would they encounter? What might someone ask of them? Or equipped with the knowledge of your subject, how might a person use it to solve problems in their own lives or communities? Step 3, determine the parameters. How will the assessment unfold? What are the requirements, and where within those will students make choices or collaborate with others? How will their work be evaluated? Designing a corresponding rubric is a great idea, especially if you're designing a project. Finally, in step 4, think about the resources students will need to be successful. Will they need to meet with you? Will they need outside sources? Will they need organizations to work with or certain software? Thinking and planning ahead will serve you and your students well. Let's consider an example. Say I'm an instructor for a course in organizational behavior, and I want to design a somewhat authentic project. Here are my goals for students. I want them to improve their problem-solving skills, their secondary research skills, their ability to generate original ideas, and actually persuasive arguments too. I want them to learn deeply about an organizational issue, and I want them to improve their professional communication skills. So I come up with a simulation for them. They'll work in teams as organizational consultants for a fictitious organization who has identified a problem. I'll write up several scenarios, and each group will get one. For example, one group might get a CEO who's having issues with employee engagement, while another might get a scenario where an HR manager needs help changing the culture, such that sexual harassment is eliminated as a workplace practice. Next, I consider the parameters. How many students in a group? What tasks will they be doing? What's the timeline? And how will I scaffold the project components? Finally, how will student work be evaluated? Lastly, I think about how to provide or facilitate students' discovery of the resources they'll need to do this assignment. For example, they'll need to meet with me as a group throughout the project to discuss progress and milestones, and they'll need access to a reference librarian for assistance with research. You might be wondering, can this sort of thing be done in a course that's fully or partially online? The answer is yes. There are lots of different ways to work authentic assessments and learning activities into any course format. Depending on your discipline in the course, you might use case studies, simulations, projects, and there are great tools for students to use to collaborate online. You might have students do research or complete virtual labs. Students can go out and do field work. You can ask them to record or give live virtual performances or presentations. They can write something or create multimedia products for online publication. They can do service learning, though when they're online it might require more legwork on their part. Or you can simply infuse authenticity into your exams or your homework by asking questions in ways that require them to think through how to apply material in various ways as if they were working to answer questions in their field or solve problems in the world. You might have guessed by now that in some cases, designing or evaluating authentic assessments can be more time-consuming. So why would you want to put in that extra time? Here are a few reasons. First, authentic assessments are better tests of students' knowledge and ability in most cases. And they help students come to understand what working in their field is like. Importantly, these kinds of assessments help develop in students those habits of mind and skills we all want our graduates to have when they leave Lindenwood. Another great thing about authentic assessments, as Grant Wiggins argues, they're more equitable because they allow students to demonstrate various strengths in different ways. Finally, two great things about authentic assessments are that they more deeply engage students with the material and they make it harder to cheat. Now that can be especially important in online courses where there's more separation between students and their instructors. So that's our overview of authentic assessments. We hope you found some information in this tutorial helpful. Be sure to check out the additional resources on the Learning Academy website. See you next time.